It's very helpful when a person's organized, because I wrote down some stories about Reb Zalman Volozhner many years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And to be able to just pull out the card and say, I'm going to share these 6 short stories about this great Gadol Hadar with my 8th grade here today is a big simcha, because I might have forgotten the stories. But if you're organized, especially if you have a system where you put down, let's say, your pictures of Gedolim or stories of Gedolim in cards and highlight it, one day many more people can enjoy it. And that's why it's very important to have neat handwriting. There was once a very great Gadol, whose name is Reb Zalman Volozhner. He was the brother of Reb Chaim Volozhner, younger brother. And the Vilna Gaon held that he's mamish a lebedika sefer Torah. When you call a person a lebedika sefer Torah, what you're saying is he's not just a Talmid Chacham, he's mamish a sefer Torah gufa. He's a human, a virtual sefer Torah. So there's a story that when he was young, he wanted to get a sefer that was on a high shelf. And it was hard to reach it because it was very high up. And he really had to get that sefer. He wanted to learn it. So some people, if they can't reach the sefer, they just forget about it. If it's not convenient, But he was so thirsty, he wasn't going to forget about it. And he knew, I have to get that sefer, but there was no ladder around. In some yeshivas and Batei Midrashes, they have a ladder by the Svarim Shank so people can go up, but there was no ladder. And he needed that sefer. I want to learn it. Maybe there's some chidushim in there, maybe some kashas, some tirutzim. And it says when a person is thirsty for Torah or hungry for Torah, he can't be satisfied with anything. He has to eat it. He has to consume it. So he saw in the middle of the shul there was some type of very heavy bima, some type of platform that really needed like many people to move it. Whenever they had to move it, let's say to make room for dancing in the shul or something, they needed a lot of people involved. And here he was the only one. He was a young person. At the time he must have been maybe even a katan. So he started saying to himself, Torah loy b'shamayim, v'loy me'ever l'yam. It says in the Torah that Torah is so special, but it's not in the heaven, and it's not on the other side of the sea. Kikari v'lacha adavar ma'id. Torah is close to you. So he started saying over this pasuk. And why did he say this pasuk? This pasuk was going to give him energy to move this heavy table by himself. Watch what he did. He said, Rashi says, Torah is not in the heaven. What did Hashem mean? Hashem meant that if it would be in the heaven, you would be obligated to go up to Shemayim to get it. That means you would have to become an astronaut and go up to outer space and get it. But it's not there. It's close to home. Torah is not on the other side of the sea, but if it would be on the other side of the sea, we would be obligated to take a boat, a ship, and cross the ocean to get it. And that's what Rashi says. So he said to himself, the Torah is not so far from me. It's up there on the top of the shelf, that sefer. But Torah is not in the heaven, and if it would be in the heaven, we would have to go up to the heaven to get it. And Torah is not on the other side of the sea, but if it would be on the other side of the sea, we would have to swim the sea to get it. And he kept on repeating this chazal till he was empowering himself and energizing himself. As he was a young man, he said, I'm going to push this table over there, this bima over there, because Torah is not in Shemayim. And if it would be in Shemayim, I'd have to get it. And Torah is not on the other side of the sea. And if it would be on the other side of the sea, I'm going to have to swim the sea and get it. And he kept on saying it till mamish, he was pumping himself up with adrenaline, till he pushed the bima himself all the way to the Svarim Shank, climbed on top and pulled the sefer down. Which means, al pi tava, according to the laws of nature, he didn't have the strength to move such a heavy thing. It might have weighed hundreds of pounds. But he told himself a chazal. Chazal say, if Torah is very far away, you'd have to get it. No excuses. So he said also now, there's no excuses. I have to get that sefer, no excuses. And by talking it into himself, he mamish had the koyach to be able to reach his goal. They say that one time, someone saw the Vilna Gaon holding his head. While he was sleeping, the Vilna Gaon put his hands under his head. So someone said, what is the Rav doing? What is the Rebbe doing? And he said, he's a Sefer Torah. And maybe he needs a pillow. I want to be his pillow, because he's a Sefer Torah. I want to be his cushion. The Vilna Gaon was machshiv, his kedusha, his godless in Torah. You know, some people, they learn, and then they skip something. They say that's boring. But in Emes Mevakesh, he's shikar over the Torah. He wants as much as a shikar, wants to drink and drink. He doesn't throw away a bottle. He wants to gobble up the whole vodka, the whole scotch. Yid has to look at Torah and say, I want to gobble it. I want to have it. Reb Dessler says that if you become great in Torah, you have to mamish be passionate for it. He says, how did Rebbe Akiva become so great? Because he had a passion for Torah. He was so thirsty for it. Now I'm going to tell you a story that sounds like it's fiction, like not true, but it's true. It's non-fiction. The tzaddik, Reb Zalman Volozhiner, whenever he would do a mitzvah, he would like to say over all the Shulchan Aruch laws about that mitzvah before he did the mitzvah. So let's say he was about to do Netilas Yadayim, he would say over Baal Peh, Hilchas Netilas Yadayim. And let's say he was about to do Hilchas Tefillin, he would say by heart the whole Shulchan Aruch of Hilchas Tefillin on the way to shul. He's about to daven, he'd say over Hilchas Tefillah. Amazing. So if an ani came to ask for tzedakah, I don't think he said over all the halachas of tzedakah while the ani is sitting there going like this, you know. But whatever, he was very, very big bucky in Kol Kula. Please stop the crackling sound. So one day, Reb Zalman was walking near the edge of a cliff. And somehow, there was usually a fence there. Somehow the fence wasn't there. And he was deep in thought. And the story goes that he walked right off the cliff. But people saw a nes nigla that he didn't fall down and kill himself or hurt himself. Somehow the malachim that were created from his Torah literally pampered him. And as he was tracting and learning, he walked back onto the cliff. Now you might think this sounds like one of the cartoons, you know, where they have the character walk off the cliff and come back on. No, this was a real life. Witnesses saw that Reb Zalman Volozhiner seemingly walked off a cliff and was not injured or hurt. He walked right back on. Somehow Rabbi Yisham made a nes that his Torah protected him. You know, we learned the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed that says the Yidden, that mitzvahs protect them. Just like the wings of a dove protect the dove from predators that want to kill it. So too, the Torahs, the mitzvahs protect us. We don't realize how much a mitzvah protects us from who knows what type of harm, Rahman al-Islam. So that's why it says tshuva is like a protection for a person. Half of a fell. So it turns out, it means amazing wonders. So it turns out, he walked off the cliff and he came back on. Now I want to tell you a story that's absolutely hilarious. Every morning, he would stay in the Beis Medrash after davening and learn. And he was a big masmid. So he would learn Mistama his Daf Yomi and his Bavli and Yerushalmi and Sifri and Sifra and Mechilta and the Rambam and the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch and all the Rishonim and Achrayim. And only after he learned a long time would he go home for every morning to have a cup of milk. And he would have a glass of milk. This was healthy. Sometimes you have to eat or drink just because it's healthy. To say it's a mitzvah for me to eat this apple right now. It's a mitzvah for me to go swimming right now. This is good for my health. It becomes mamish a mitzvah.
Drink milk.
So, one day, there was a man that came over to the house to fix the fireplace. And what they used to do is they used to coat the fireplace with lime. Lime looks like milk, but it's not milk. It's like a whitish paint. And they would paint the area. So it turns out his wife always put for the Rav a glass of milk. And he would come while he was tracting and learning, and he would make a bracha and drink his milk. So one day the painter was painting the fireplace, and he put his jar of paint in the spot where Reb Zalman Volozhiner always got his milk. So all of a sudden, he lifted up the cup, and he made his bracha, and he drank it, and he went back to the base measures. So the painter comes by, and he's wondering, where's my paint? My paint was just here. His wife says, I don't know, I didn't see it. She says, it was where? He says, right over here. The jar was right here? Oh my goodness. That's why I always put his milk. He probably was so out of this world in the Olam, the MS, not being so focused on Olam Hazeh, that she realized, he drank the lime, the paint. So she ran, it seems she ran after him, or the guy ran after him to tell him, you drank the paint. So they caught up to him, and they said, Rabbi, is Rabbi okay? You drank the paint. You know what he said? Oi, bracha levatala. He wasn't worried that he drank the paint. He was worried, I said Hashem's name, bracha levatala. All right. There's one more story I want to say about him. That it seems the Shagas Aryeh used to come to the house of Reb Chaim Volozhiner to learn a lot, because Reb Chaim was wealthy and he had a set of Shas. And in those days, not everyone had a set of Shas. Yeah. And while Reb Chaim's mother was giving birth in the house to little Zalman, future Gadol Adar, she realized that Shagas Aryeh is in the next room. And she realized that she would cry out by the Chevlei Leda when a woman gives birth, she screams. If you go to the labor room by Maimonides Hospital, I don't know if they'll let you stand over there, but you stand by the door, you can hear cries of agony as the baby has to emerge to this world and basically stretch the mother's skin more than normal. And it's painful, it's pulling. And she wanted to scream, and she wanted to yell. But Shimon said that the Shagas Aryeh is learning next door, and if you scream, it's going to stare him. So she held her pain and she didn't scream. Wow. So then everyone said, Mazel Tov, it's a boy. So everyone came and told the Shagas Aryeh that Reb Chaim gets a Mazel Tov. His mother just had a baby in the house. In the olden days, they gave birth in the house with the coach, with the doctor there. And he said, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any screaming. So they said, yes, she didn't want to steer you. So he said, Abra Azai, she's so machshav Torah, she didn't want to cause bittul Torah. She should have a son who will be zeichet to the crown of Torah. So we see from this story, if you don't cause bittul Torah by others, this could be a zchus that you too should also be zeichet to Torah. Now, I just want to end off with a sad story, if you don't mind. It's sad because when I heard this story, I just wanted to punch the wall. I was just sad to hear this story. A story happened with Rabbi Yehuda Adis, who's one of the Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael today, Rosh Hashiva of Kol Yaakov. He went to a rich guy, a Syrian guy, for a donation for the yeshiva, and the guy gave him a check with many digits, probably something to the tune of $100,000. So the Rosh Hashiva thanked him, and he said, I give you a bracha, you should have sons and grandsons, Talmidei Chachamim. So the rich guy said, Rabbi, please, I gave you such a gift. Why are you giving me such a bracha? I don't want my grandchildren to become schnars. In other words, he was so weit from godless Torah that here he did tzedakah because he's a nice rabbi, but he wasn't matched to the Torah. Like, what? Don't curse me. Don't curse me that my children should be Talmidei Chacham. I want them to be rich businessmen. What do you? I don't want them to have to shaf geld for the yeshivas, because a lot of Talmidei Chacham have to collect money and solicit and fundraise for the yeshivas. So he says, please don't curse me. So I said it's a sad story that some people don't realize godless Torah, and really a person should daven to Hashem to have children Talmidei Chacham. I just want to end off with a more beautiful story than that. Is that I think there was a rabbi called the Brianna Rebbe